All right, boys, episode 20. I didn't even have to look that up this time because I looked it up earlier. But as Adam just said, happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Hey. And, which, by the way, I re-listened to our podcast from last week on iTunes, and I still haven't watched the McGuire Sosa documentary. Did you watch it?
No. I don't think I'm going.
Slacking.
I don't think I'm going to.
You said you were pumped for that.
I was, but now I hear everybody talking about it. I don't want to. I don't really. I think.
Who? I told you it was good.
You got to find out for yourself.
The one guy, your buddy that claimed it wasn't about the home run race?
No.
Buddy.
I don't know. From everybody's talk, I think it was hyped up. Well, I shouldn't say they hyped it up more. I think after the Jordan documentary, I was expecting a lot more.
You can't. That's
Well, and I think that's a problem. I think I'm expecting a lot more out of it than it probably was. It was probably good, but I just don't the hype around it, I guess.
Okay.
Or my hype.
Okay.
All right. I'll tell you what documentary I did watch, which I going to highly recommend. It's an hour and 15 minutes. The Chris Herron documentary, Unguarded. Did you watch any of this or hear about any of this? Do you know who Chris Herron is?
I don't even know who that is.
So Chris Herron I watched last year, ESPN aired a one time only. It was called The First Day. Chris Herron's now a motivational speaker, but he played for the Celtics. He played for the Nuggets. He was drafted by the Nuggets. How are we looking over there, dear?
We have a surprise guest.
Stat checking. We're good? Okay. Perfect. So Chris Herron was a standout high school basketball player in Massachusetts. He lived in a small town that like high school basketball was like high school football in Texas. And then he went on to play at like Boston College. And then he went to Fresno State. I don't want to give too much away. He had an addiction problem that was like out of control, and he was like highly functioning addict, like extremely high on OxyContin, and would still play in NBA games and nobody knew about it, and he would light him up.
Was he on McAfee?
Yes.
Okay.
That is him.
I saw the headline, and I didn't know who it was from the picture.
That's what kind of reminded me. I didn't realize there was a 30 for 30 because I'd watched the short film they made called The First Day, which is basically clips of him talking to schools. It was unreal. So if you get a chance to watch that, it is just... Allie watched it this morning. I just couldn't believe like what this guy had went through, and one, how he got to where he is today, and two, how he isn't dead.
Right.
Technically, one time he did die for like 30 seconds. He like wrecked his car after he OD'd, and they found him, and he was dead. But yeah, that's a great documentary, by the way. Great story too. I would love to go see him talk at a school or whatever, but I looked it up one time. It was like $10,000 to pay him to come to the school.
It's like pocket change.
It really is to a school. I mean,
yeah.
That's what I said earlier. I mean, they pay all this money for probably programs or the DARE program.
Yeah.
For this guy $10,000 to come to your school and have a little reality check.
Right. Yeah.
So if you get a chance, check that out. Anyway, also, happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Topic number 1 tonight.
We got 16 more years of it. 15.
Yeah, we have some years left. So do you want to dig into what Bobby Bo Day is, or?
Sure. We'll start off by saying his agent has to be the smartest man on the planet.
Correct.
Assuming his agent negotiated that deal.
Yeah.
So that was
99.
The Mets wanted to buy out Bobby Bonilla. I think the last year of his deal was $5.9 million. And they must not have had $5.9 million in cash at the moment to give him.
Which doesn't that seem funny to think about?
Yes.
The pro franchise like the Mets didn't have $5.9 million to give him.
Yep. So he's 57 years old right now. I did look that up.
Yep.
Just to kind of get an idea how old he'd be when this is over.
Yeah. So they, instead of paying him $5.9 million, they decided to defer the money, and they paid him. I don't think they paid him for first couple years.
Right.
I think the first payment was like 2005. So that was the advantage for them. They didn't have to pay any money for the first 5 years.
His first payment was 2011.
Okay, so it was
2011.
That doesn't make sense.
2035 is what I read. It was a 20-year deal.
25-year.
25-year deal, yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, they're paying him just shy of $1.2 million a year for 25 years.
Right.
Instead of paying him the $5.9 million back then.
Right.
I mean,
So do you want the exact number he gets paid?
sure.
$1,193,248.20. 20 cents is big.
It is. It's
That's just a hell of a deal.
that might be one of the best deals in the history of sports.
He's going to be 72 when it's done,
Yep.
which is hopefully he lives that long. Maybe
Right.
that's what they're hoping. Like
He's
maybe
gonna
he won't
die.
make it that long, and then we don't pay him.
What if they would go to like an
There's got to
estate?
be.
I
There's
assume
got to be
there's
a
gotta be.
beneficiary
Yeah.
in that.
So
I hope it was me.
it's definitely not you. So I some other things I looked up was it was 25 years and there was 8% interest on this.
Yep.
Was the interest on it. So far they've paid him $11.9 million. And I think what triggered, I couldn't find it to be certain. I think the reason the Mets didn't buy him out completely, first of all, the deal was inspired by Brett Saberhagen, who's also had a deal with the Mets, $250,000 for 25 years. And I don't know if this was the cause, but a lot of this happened right around the time of Bertie Madoff got busted.
Yep.
And Mets ownership was deeply invested in Bertie Madoff and lost a ton of money. So I know at the time, I don't know if the timing of this lines up where they didn't do it. They're like, can we strike a deal because of this? Like, is this something we can do? And he agreed to it.
No.
I'm not 100% sure, but I vaguely remember something around that time because the company I work for, the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union lost
Yes, they did.
a ton of money during that too.
Yep.
Like the national, like where all their like funds and stuff
Yep.
go. They had invested in Bernie's
Yes.
organization. So
Because my dad was in that.
was he?
Yeah. So yes, you're correct.
Yep. Okay.
Wasn't last season, the 2019 season, wasn't Bonilla like the Mets like third highest paid player, something like that?
Yeah, it's
Which
he's
is-
like up.
That's
on the-
that's actually kind of funny.
interesting
That is really funny.
I mean, think about the guys that are just making league minimum. They're like, this guy's hasn't played in 99 since 99, and he's making
double
league
me.
minimum.
That's crazy. I mean, good for him though. I mean,
I'm
It's a
curious, like,
great
what
deal for him.
It would be interesting to do like a short 30 for 30 on him and just see like what happened through everything, and
yeah,
I assume he does stuff with it, and who knows?
Are we sure there's not a 30 for 30 on it?
I do
No.
not know.
We'll have to check
We're
that.
not sure.
He does have another contract like this.
Yes, he does.
It's with the Orioles. It was $500K for 25 years.
Yep.
Started in 2004.
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy's got it made.
Yeah.
And there was some other ones listed. Manny Ramirez is going to get $24.2 million from the Red Sox. Total was a total deferred contract through 2026.
My God.
When's the last time he played?
Well, a couple of years ago in Japan.
I'm talking about for the Red Sox.
It's been a while now.
Yeah.
Isn't he? He's trying to make a comeback in the MLB.
Why?
He said because they said he can just still hit.
Do you want it to? I don't.
So I'm going to lump this into another story. I've seen a rumor. I have no idea how true this is, that because this new 60-game MLB season is all DH, that somebody was saying the Giants, I don't know if this is true, were considering or should reach out to Barry Bonds and see if he would be willing to come back for this season and be their DH.
Yeah, think about it. There's a lot of National League teams. There's probably less than a handful of National League teams that are set up to have a DH.
Yeah.
I mean, they've obviously got extra hitters, but they don't have someone that just hits.
And they probably gear up for that going into, like, if you make the World Series, that's when you worry about it.
Right.
Yeah. I just think Bonds hasn't – I'm kind of guessing. I don't think Bonds has played in 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say probably 7
Ramirez
or 8.
is probably 6 to 8.
Yeah.
First that guy Cole was here.
Weren't, I know, right? If they weren't good enough to be DHing for somebody over the last 8 years, then why are they all of a sudden good enough? There's got to be somebody else.
Right.
A free agent who maybe played last year, doesn't have a deal, is probably more ready to step into that role than those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so.
I don't know.
Sweet deal, though. I mean,
For Bonilla?
Yeah.
I seriously think that's one of the better deals in sports. I mean, basically his entire retirement, he's making between those two deals almost $2 million for nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if does he still go to games? Like, I'd show up, or is he ashamed to show up? I don't want to show my face there.
I'd go to the Mets game and want to sit in the dugout. I mean, technically they're paying me. Why can't I sit in the dugout with you guys?
That's true. Got his own suite there.
Next thing, he'll be convincing the Mets he needs to be in the front office. They're going to be paying him his player contract. Then he's going to be
right.
He can get another half mil in the front office.
The only thing on his resume is I negotiated a deal with you guys. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Does anybody know how Mets fans feel about this? I mean, you guys are more in tune with the National League. I used to work with a Mets fan, but I didn't never ask about that.
I only know a few Mets fans, and I don't bring it up. So
yeah, I don't know that. I think there's so much money in sports now they don't really worry about.
Yeah.
They probably don't even realize.
So
I got a couple of baseball things.
Go ahead,
before we move on.
We're not moving on yet.
All right.
So
I had a transition set up.
well, you can
right.
you can dig into it here after. So 2 episodes ago, I think we talked about guys with 60 games, what they could do, and I know we talked about 2020 guys, but having even 2020 this year would be a good season.
Yep.
So there's 4 guys who have had a 2020 season over 60 games at any point in their season.
Yep.
And they're Acuna did it last year, A-Rod, Beltran, and Soriano.
Mets Soriano or Yankee Soriano?
06. I don't know who.
That's
where he
probably
was. I thought
Nationals Soriano the year he.
That's what I was thinking.
Went 40-40.
Yeah. That was the year I was thinking was Nationals.
He was only in Washington 1 year, and that was the season he went 40-40.
Yeah, they're even saying like 2020 would be an incredible year.
Yeah, it would be a good year.
Yeah, it would. Well, you figure 40-40 is like a sacred club. There's only 4 members, and that's over 160 game season.
Right.
So now you're taking more than a third away. Or you're playing a third of the games and expected to have half that production.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with that. I saw an article, whatever you want to call it, something like that, where they were talking about 60-game stretches. And I think Giancarlo Stanton, when he was still in Florida or Miami, whatever the hell they were called then, he hit 33 home runs in a 60-game stretch, and that's the most ever in a 60-game stretch in history.
I would think like
so even
30 home runs would be.
So I don't think anyone will even hit 30 home runs.
No.
I think 20 to 25 is going to be a monster year for home runs.
Not even McGuire Sosa in a 60-game stretch. I mean, Sosa hit 20 in June that year.
Yeah, but think about how much he jumped up in that one in June that year versus he was kind of steady.
He had, yeah. I mean, I don't know who the source was, so hopefully they're trustworthy. But yeah, it said Giancarlo Stanton, a 60-game stretch home run wise.
I mean, it's definitely doable.
The year Sosa hit 20 in June, he had also done virtually nothing before that. That he kind of came out of nowhere because of that 20
in June.
Yeah.
Saw McGuire got the cork bat out, so let's do this.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then somebody tweeted out today, said, "What's your favorite random sports stat?" And some guy said, and I had to like think about it for a while, but the Marlins have 2 World Series titles and no division titles, and they've never been eliminated from the playoffs.
Were they?
The 2 years they made the playoffs, they won the World Series. Since they've been in the
and
league.
they didn't win the division.
Correct. They were the wild card.
That year?
Yeah.
Huh. That is interesting.
That is an interesting.
Yeah.
I like read it, and I'm like, really? But they, if you think about it, they're never in the playoffs.
No. That's because after they win World Series, they sell everybody.
Yeah. So,
trade, I should say.
I mean, it's what, 23 years? 25 years, somewhere in there.
Sore
Like
subject
95,
for me.
96.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
It's good. Come on.
Freaking slap single over the middle. Are you kidding me?
Happened twice to you.
I don't want to talk about it, I said.
Yeah.
So what do you got? You said you got transition.
Well, we were talking about Bobby Bonilla getting paid. So today, we're recording on July 1st, is when the NHL salary bonuses are paid out for the year to players. So recently, we've seen a lot of players structure their contracts where if you're making you're scheduled to make $10 million in a year, you have it worded so that you're paid like a $9 million bonus on July 1st, and then throughout the season, you're only making $1 million salary.
That's a great idea.
Reason being, collective bargaining agreement is up in a couple years. There's rumors of could there be another strike or shortened season. If there's a strike and there is no season, teams are still required to pay salary bonus on July 1st. You wouldn't get your salary during the season, but you would get your bonus. So therefore, if you think there's going to be a strike and you can structure your deal so that 90% of your money is a salary bonus,
guaranteed,
you still get paid.
Which I find funny because teams are like willing to do it. There really hasn't been much issue with a team being like, yeah, we'll give you that bonus.
Basically guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I believe I read there was roughly $300 million paid out today to NHL players in the form of bonuses. And looked at the top players on that list. So the Maple Leafs, between Matthews, Marner, and Tavares, they're big three players. And I don't know about anybody else. There were probably some others that were lower. So just between those three players, the Leafs paid $30.5 million for those three players today, July 1st. So even better day than Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah. That is a great
And think about it, they're still playing last season.
Yeah, really. Matthews was number one out of the entire league. He got paid $15.2 million today.
Guaranteed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if you went to the store and bought like a 6-pack, celebrate. Maybe a 30-pack splurge.
30-pack of what?
Yeah. 30 packs.
Yep.
That's crazy.
He's barely old enough to drink.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a scary part. Yeah, Matthews is, 22 maybe. Marner, I think, is like 23. McDavid, 23. So, yeah, the top three guys on that list combined for $40 million, and they're all between like 22 and 24 years old.
Combined age of 63.
They all live in a house together. And
Goodness. Scary. So, eat your heart out, Bonilla.
I'm sure he is. You want your LeBron fact before I move on?
Not really.
Okay, I'll wait.
Is it about him sucking?
No.
All right, go ahead.
All right, LeBron. In 2010, the Knicks were on top of LeBron's list
Oh, I did read that.
until a disaster first meeting. I didn't know the details of what was the meeting, but that was the headline.
How much do Knicks fans have to hate hearing that?
Could have went to New York, and then they can't even do a meeting correctly.
What do you think, Colton?
Yeah, Colton, let us know, man. Probably breaks his heart.
Yes. So, speaking of LeBron, because I was going to bring this up so Russ could drop his hatred in there. I did watch a little bit of the backstory. They did a little hour documentary type thing on his decision that he did.
I did see that
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Was that supposed to be?
That's what you're talking about.
You said it was
Yeah.
fan
Yeah, so a Detroit Pistons fan wrote into Bill Simmons' mailbag and said, they should do a LeBron special on where he's going to choose. So Bill Simmons gave it to ESPN. They went to LeBron's, I think it was during, I forget when exactly it was. It was like right before the playoffs started. They went to, he had like 3 guys that he was friends with in high school.
They all work for him.
They all work for him now. Yep. So those were really the guys. So they went to him, and initially they were like, no, we don't want to do it. Like, it's not, we're just not up for it. So then they convinced him, and his guys were like, we get to pick who hosts it. They picked a guy that doesn't even work for ESPN, Jim Gray. I believe he worked for NBC maybe at the time. But so they got to pick who hosted it. And then it got to so they convinced him finally, yep, we'll do it. I assume he got paid too. They didn't mention anything that I saw about it. But a couple of days prior, his group was like, we don't want to do it anymore. Like, it's just not going to be worth it because, as we've mentioned before, the ego yes. thing and everything else. Yeah. And then they were like, no, let's do it. So LeBron, even up to 10 minutes prior, was like, I really don't want to do this. And
is that live?
Yes.
Okay. And
as soon as it ended, there's a clip during the documentary. He took his mic off. He's like, am I done talking now? I think he was just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it was the end of it.
So where's this documentary? I want to see it. Is it on ESPN?
It was on ESPN, so it's called The Backstory.
Oh.
You watched that
put some
bullshit,
thought into
but you
that.
won't watch McGuire Sosa.
Well, there was nothing on Sunday, so I just...
Who came up with that title?
Man.
Guys, I got an idea for a documentary. It's called The Backstory.
So when we were talking about, I texted you guys with some topic ideas today, and you replied something about, I've got to talk about the backstory, and I'm like, what freaking backstory is he talking about? I'm trying to look through my list. I'm like, I don't know what backstory he's talking about based on this list.
Well, you didn't ask. I would have told you.
My goodness. Not that I think, I don't know, he's rich anyways, but I hope that they paid him a number that he couldn't turn down, because if not, to me, it's, again, you talk about the ego thing.
Yeah.
That's all just an egotistical move. And
Didn't that money go to charity too?
Yeah, the money that was like raised during it all went to charity, to like the Boys and Girls Club of Akron.
Make me look like an ass. Putting this down. He could have just donated to charity and said no.
Right. That's the way to spin it.
Well, that's what they kept.
Good job, LeBron.
Yeah, and that's what they had, like who was ever the director of ESPN at the time, John Skipper, and they had him on, and he's like, yeah, we just kept throwing money at, we're going to give this much to charity. So I think it ended up being like, hey, we're going to give, whatever, $10 million to charity. And he was like, I can't really say.
Because then they would have turned around and said he could have given $10 million to charity, and he turned it down.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a clip of him, as soon as it ended, he like took his mic off. He's like, am I done talking? Because I think he was just, that was the end of it.
Interesting. Huh. All right, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. So we're going to go with football. We're going to talk about Cam Newton. He literally just turned around and looked like he was looking for an elephant. But before you guys got here, though, we got a notification.
We did?
I'm assuming you did. If you have ESPN, that
I don't get that bullshit.
NFL shortens preseason to just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
By notification, he means Max Kellerman text him.
Right.
Not a chance.
NFL season shortened by 2 weeks?
No, preseason.
Oh, preseason. Okay.
Which I'm fine with. I don't know about you guys, but I am totally fine
I don't
with
give
it.
a shit about NFL preseason.
Yeah. And there's like a 10-day layoff in between preseason and the NFL season, which I think is
I really don't
touch
care.
longer.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'd rather not watch games than watch preseason games.
To me, taking 10, I don't know, I guess 10 isn't horrible. It's a football takes, I play it once a week anyways, but that almost feels like, hey, let's have a preseason, then take a huge chunk of time off
Right.
and negate everything we just trained for.
And I think they only moved training camp back like a few days. It's like July 28th they're supposed to report.
Yeah.
And I think they're usually only in training camp like a week and a half before they even start games anyway.
Because they have like OTAs and stuff, right?
Yeah. Which I don't know if they're having this year, what the deal is, but
No, I don't know.
All right, so the elephant in the room is Cam Newton signing the Patriots. Ross predicted it. I thought it wouldn't happen because I didn't think New England had the money.
Yeah, I don't know. From day one of us doing this podcast, seems like that was about the timing. It just seemed like the perfect fit to me for some reason.
I mean, they needed somebody.
Yeah, veteran guy, former MVP, seems to be healthy from all reports.
So he's also a former backup to Tim Tebow at Florida.
I didn't know that.
How does that look in hindsight?
Yeah.
Yeah, he left Florida.
and Tebow ain't playing this year.
So he left Florida to go to Auburn.
No, he went to a junior college, I believe.
Yeah.
Then went to Auburn.
Huh.
Then won the
How many years was
Heisman.
he in college? Jesus.
High school.
The only 3.
Yeah.
So you got a doctorate?
Yeah, I don't know if he went to the junior college because of Division I rules. I don't know. I never looked into that, but he went to like a junior college.
Yeah, obviously stayed in conference, so maybe it was part of it. Like, hey, I could go play junior college for a year, and then and I forget, college basketball and football have rules about, like, basketball. You can ask, like, if you're transferred to another school, you can ask if it can be forgiven. You don't have to sit out a year. College football, maybe I don't know the rules, but maybe it's like within division you have to sit out, or within conference you have to sit out a year. I don't know what the rules are, but
So he only played at Auburn 1 year.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
It was also the same year. I think he stole a couple TVs, but I digress.
All right. I mean, I think for both he and the Patriots, it's a very good move. And I think it instantly keeps New England up there as far as Super Bowl contenders if he stays healthy, in my opinion.
I think he's going to see some tougher defenses this year than he has in Carolina.
I disagree with that, just because of the core around him in New England. They don't have anybody.
Just
around
Edelman,
him.
right?
Edelman. And they have Mohamed Sanu.
Which they've been working out. I saw a
Yeah,
video today.
they have no tight ends and a couple rookie running backs.
I don't really check out their asses, so I'll take your word for that. Bad joke from me.
Nailed it. Yeah. I know, he signed for league or veteran minimum, but there's up to like $7.5 million in bonuses.
It was 1 year up to 7.5. Which you're gonna say it? You're talking about Richard Sherman?
Oh no! Well,
no,
I wasn't gonna bring that part up, but Cam Newton will be making less than Chase Daniel this year. And technically, right now, Chase Daniel is going to be making more than Cam Newton and Jameis Winston combined.
Well, I mean, Winston threw a lot of interceptions.
Yeah. He also signed to be a backup, basically.
Yeah. But Richard Sherman, not really big fan. He's a good football player, but I feel like Richard runs his mouth way too much, thinks he's a GM, thinks he's smarter than he actually is. I don't care that you got a perfect score in your SATs. That does not describe your common sense.
I mean, it's probably better than the three of us did, so.
Well, I didn't take the SAT, so yes.
Yeah, neither did I.
All right, so
but
better than I did.
So how did you do?
Yeah. So it doesn't really describe your common sense. He wrote a tweet about when someone from ESPN broke the story that he signed. He had this whole thing about how he was mad that why is this guy signing for league minimum? Like he's worth more than that.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. That's Newton and his agent's decision.
So,
they didn't have to sign the contract.
No one forced him.
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it takes two parties to agree to a contract.
Right.
Cam Newton was comfortable enough with this deal to sign it because he's going to be playing football, most likely starting for the Patriots.
Right.
If he wasn't comfortable with it, then he shouldn't have signed
right.
it. We don't need a player on a different team chiming in on the Patriots contract.
If he was worried about it, maybe he should have told the Niners to sign him for $10 million a year and see what they would have said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
So then I looked it up. I mean, he's got some injuries.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't come to peace with the fact that you're not going to make the money you'd like to make because of injuries, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, 2014 he didn't impact games. He missed like a preseason game. He missed 4 months because he had to tighten up the ligaments in his ankle. That was a surgery. He then broke his ribs that year from a hit from J.J. Watt. Then in 2018, he looked subpar the entire season. He battled a shoulder injury, which he then had surgery on right after the season.
Yep.
And then last year, every week it was, is Cam playing or is Cam not? He needs a second opinion. He needs a third opinion on his foot. We spent, 15, 16 weeks in the NFL season talking about Cam Newton's foot and whether or not he was going to play. And then he finally has surgery on it.
And I believe 2 years ago when he did play, because that's what they're talking about, he had like a 68 completion percentage. Well, that's easy when you're dumping it off to McCaffrey in the backfield for 80 times a year.
Right. And then you throw in a couple concussions. He's taking some shots.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, the guy's been in the league for a little while. He's taken some hits. That's just wear and tear. There's nothing against him personally.
How old is he? He's got to be 34, somewhere in there.
I'm not sure.
Because he was 22 when he came out.
Has he been in the league that long?
Got to be close.
I wouldn't think he's that old.
I'll look it up. But to me, there's some serious injuries there, especially the foot. The guy's game or the way he plays the game is pretty mobile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm not sure that. Another reason I disagree with Richard Sherman and his logic.
Mm-hmm.
He's 31.
Which is getting, for Patriots fans, they're like, that's his prime. But
yeah, he's 31.
For most other teams, it's.
So you've made the argument about, you both have, about Brady being a systems quarterback.
Yeah.
You've said you believe Belichick is the head of that monster. They were a playoff team last year. Is their overall roster that much different that you believe putting Cam Newton in there, they're still not a contender? They're not a good team?
I think they're a playoff contender. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender.
Okay.
My answer to that would be another question. Do you think Cam Newton's going to do enough on offense to make up for everybody they lost on defense?
That's where they lost a lot of. They lost 4 or 5 starters on defense.
Some big starters.
Which I think.
I don't know any of those guys.
Yeah.
Right. I think it definitely
I
improves
don't know,
them.
I haven't studied their roster that much.
I mean, I think it definitely is an upgrade. But then that's the other thing I read today is they're saying that the Patriots still love this Jared Stidham, and Newton's not a lock for week 1.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. He's got to compete for the job. It's not his.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I think a lot of people just assumed like Cam Newton's on the team, so he's starting. But no, they've made it clear he's going to have to compete.
The guy's got a resume. If I'm a coach, I would
Right.
probably flip my mindset and say Stidham's got to try to win that job, not the other way around.
Right. But yeah, the injuries. Well, that's what they said. It'll be interesting to see Patriots fans, and they've had a quarterback the last 20 years,
Right.
that doesn't get hit hard, doesn't take shots, and then you got a guy coming in that basically they've just said, if you're running, you better cover up because you're going to get hit.
This makes me want to go to Buffalo for the New England game again.
No fans. Don't have to worry about it.
I'll get a ticket anyway. Just find a way in.
You're
Who's that water boy? I don't know. We need water boys.
might have to go to New England for the game.
What do you think? I think it's an upgrade from Stidham. I really do.
I do agree they're going to have a battle to figure out who's the starter. It's not his role, but as a guy who's not a Patriots fan, so I don't know the intricacies of their roster.
Right.
When I see Stidham, a guy that I know nothing about, versus Cam Newton, who is allegedly healthy and only a couple years removed from an MVP season, it's hard not to envision it as his job that Stidham's got to win.
That's how I would view it. That's how I would say. Yeah. I would not be going to the mindset of Stidham. This is Stidham's job. Cam's got to compete for it. I would say, Cam's our starter. Stidham's got to compete for it. Yeah. And if you like Stidham that much, then I guess you got a great backup, right?
Yeah, I mean, right.
That's your mentality.
We've seen it a lot. He sat behind Brady for a few years, so
yeah.
And I think football is the one sport where if you feel like they're a playoff contender, to me, if you get into the playoffs in football, you're a Super Bowl contender. Anybody could win.
Yeah, 100%.
More than some of the other sports, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I mean, it happens every year. There's usually an upset. Somebody gets beat that you didn't think would get beat.
No. I guess my thought is prior to the Newton signing, I had kind of written off New England, and now I don't quite feel that way.
I agree with that. As a Bills fan, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I still think that Buffalo has everything, all the tools that they should have no problem winning that division.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But I think those two games potentially just became a lot harder. The two games against New England.
Well, and potentially they don't even matter because they're so late. So I think they're like week 15 and 17.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're both really late.
Yeah, so it might not even matter.
It might not even matter at that point. But
so I don't have this written down, but I'll throw it out to you guys. I saw it the other day. Do you think this is a make or break season for Josh Allen?
Yes, I do.
100% agree.
He's grown exponentially over the last his first couple of years. He's shown serious growth. If you don't go out and win a division this year with all the weapons you have,
yes,
right. I think that's the key for it is they've put the team around him that he. I mean, obviously people complain about his completion percentage all the time, but even if he plays the same way he did last year, there's no way they should lose that. They have a tougher schedule this year, but I don't see any way that they lose that division.
I mean, if he puts up numbers and they still lose, I mean that is
right.
what it is.
Yeah. Yep.
If he takes care of the ball, but he's still, they're losing games. I mean, they're losing games, but
yeah, I think we saw a huge difference in him from first half of last year to the second half of last year. So
yeah,
as long as he improves, I'm not saying he has to go out and win, be like top 3 in MVP voting, but
he's got to win games.
He's just as long as he's win. Right, that's everybody looks at stats, but for a quarterback, it's really
just win.
It's you just
win, baby.
You got to win the game. So
yeah, I do think he's got to have a big year, and then if he doesn't, the whispers could start of what they do next.
I think you got to get to at least the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, like you say, he's got to take care of the ball. And the accuracy thing to me is it's mainly downfield where it's most noticeable when he's making the longer throws, and he's missing guys by 5 to 7 yards.
Yeah.
Especially now that you have Diggs and John Brown, two guys that can run and are legitimate deep ball threats. You need to hit them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe Buffalo thought about this, what we're talking about, during the draft, and hence the Jake Fromm pick. But, you know, like what was it, the 5th or 6th round? Something like that?
Yeah. 5th round.
Yeah, 5th.
I was going to throw a dad joke out, but I'm going to leave it alone.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Maybe I can throw one in later.
I don't know what's more awkward, the dad joke or the setup for a dad joke followed by no dad joke.
Yeah.
I'm
on the edge.
I'm just trying to set you guys up.
Oh, boy.
So you threw this on the list, and at first I was like, I didn't know why you mentioned this. It was in the Texas Rangers new stadium. Mm-hmm. And then I remembered I saw a headline where fans were like, is this a Costco?
Yep.
It looked just like a warehouse.
Yeah, so the Texas Rangers are opening a new ballpark this year. And a couple things that I saw. I saw somebody compare the picture of the ballpark external to the artist rendering of what it was going to look like. The artist rendering had like this beautiful park with this seated area, all these nice trees, almost this area where people could go hang out and tailgate kind of situation before the game. Then you look at the actual picture, and it's just the ballpark and blacktop parking lot. So like
looks like Walmart.
Whatever money they were going to put into the exterior of this place to make it an attraction for people, that didn't happen.
They spent it all on the inside.
I saw a picture someone made on Twitter. They photoshopped. They took out the name of the stadium. They wrote Costco, then they wrote as their tweet, like, you guys got any deals?
Yeah. To me, it looks like one of those, you see the ads online for those pre-manufactured metal barns. It looks like an oversized one of those.
Yeah.
It's just like this sheet metal barn.
So I looked up.
In Texas, you gotta go to sheet metal on top.
My goodness.
So it is a retractable roof.
Yeah.
That is huge in Texas. We know that.
Well, yeah, it's probably aluminum. The wind will just retract it.
Yeah, first tornado. So I did some just research, because at first I'm like, what's going on in the new stadium? Okay, they're getting a new stadium.
What's the name of it?
It is the Globe Life Field.
Yeah.
It's they paid $1.2 billion. Was supposed to open March 23rd, but obviously due to the global pandemic.
Somebody did slide into home already there.
Because they did a graduation on May 29th.
Oh, boy.
The field is artificial grass, which makes them one of only 5 teams to play home games on artificial grass. So they paid for this. The city issued $500 million in bonds. So it increased sales tax by 0.5 cent. There's 2% hotel occupancy tax now, 5% on car rental tax. And this is for 30 years. That's to pay off the bonds. The Rangers, to pay their portion, are doing a ticket tax up to 10%, parking tax of $3 at the stadium. That's supposed to help clean up some of like the cost as well.
Okay.
The coolest aspect, in my opinion, of this stadium is some of the numbers and distances to the fence they're relevant for a reason.
Okay.
And I wrote down 4 of them. Left field is 329 feet because Adrian Beltrain wore number 29. I think they retired his number. Okay. Left field inside the line is 334 for Nolan Ryan, wore number 34. Center field is 407 for Pudge, wore number 7.
Nope.
There was a couple other ones like 472 and 474, which had something to do with the Rangers being in Arlington in 72 and then their first winning season in 74. Then home plate to the backstop is 42 feet. That's for Jackie Robinson, which is retired in all of baseball.
Yep.
So the distance is relevant to, like, that's how they're like idolizing some of these people, I guess.
Yeah. And I think you're seeing that a lot more with newer even.
Yeah.
I go back to Pittsburgh because I've been to Pittsburgh Pirates Stadium a lot. The field, the wall in right field is 21 feet high for Clemente.
Yep. So that was interesting.
That's cool.
Other than that, I don't have any other facts. I did all this research, and that's when I realized, I'm like, what does this stadium look like? And I'm like, this is why we're talking about it. This is the Costco.
Yep.
Yeah, the graduation, I don't know, Russ, if you saw the video.
No, I did not.
Kid went and got his diploma, and then he stood at the plate took a swing, and ran around the bases. When he came around, he slid into home.
Was there any teachers and administrators chasing him?
No, they just stood there.
I like it.
Hope he was fast. It
Who knows?
A while.
Who knows? He may have told him he was doing it. I don't know. But
I mean, prior to Camden Yards being built, most stadiums were just it was a baseball stadium. The buildings kind of all looked the same, and there was no architectural aspect to them. And ever since Camden Yards was built, teams have focused on not only the architecture of the building, but the view you can potentially see from center field. Camden Yards, you've got the warehouse. It's a unique view. PNC Park in Pittsburgh, one of probably the best views in sports, looking over the city. The list is pretty long of these beautiful modern parks that have been built since Camden Yards.
Right.
And then, like you say, this place is just like an aluminum warehouse.
I mean,
thing.
$1.2 billion to me is actually not, in terms of building a stadium.
That doesn't seem bad.
It's not expensive.
It's not bad with a retractable roof.
That almost correlates to me, like why it looks so simple. I want to look up how much Jerry Jones spent.
Oh, that was
Cowboy Stadium.
That's nothing to compare to.
Oh yeah,
we got to get one on the spectrum here.
I was trying to think of Cardinals Stadium, Arizona Cardinals.
Oh,
but they've got that like turf or it's like grass. The field like comes out, so I can get sun. But
now we sound like idiots. Well,
a mouse in your pocket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cowboy Stadium was $1.2 billion. Okay. So that actually makes their stadium look worse because we know what Cowboys did with their $1.2 billion.
Maybe stuff just costs a lot more in Texas.
Because there's some issues right now in Minnesota, right? With the Viking Stadium, they're like it's extremely over budget.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think what stadiums have been built in the past.
I'm trying to think. You said this is one of 5 all turf fields in baseball.
All turf?
No, artificial.
Yeah,
right.
Same thing.
I'm trying to
Tampa.
Tampa and Toronto was one of
Toronto.
So other than those 3. Is there a random outdoor stadium that's turf? Is Milwaukee?
Milwaukee. I thought Milwaukee was grass.
This is a good trivia question. I don't know that I can come up with the other 2.
We need a stat guy. We need someone over there looking that up for us, getting back to us.
Arizona, I think is grass, even though that's retractable roof. I'm pretty sure Milwaukee's grass.
Yeah, we'll have to think about it as we're talking here.
Is Toronto still
5 artificial?
That's turf. So Texas, Toronto, Tampa are definitely turf.
Is Florida?
I don't think so.
That's newer. I just don't know if it's.
It's a good question. We'll have to look that up and figure it out. We'll get back to you.
It's going to bother me while we're sitting here, but okay.
So look it up.
I got you.
So yeah, that is for some reason. I looked up the Viking Stadium, and it said something around $1.3 billion, but I want to say that was supposed to be like. Actually, said 1.6. I want to say that was supposed to be like $800 million, and then that went way over budget. Spent a ton of money on like a bridge for people to walk from one side of the road to the other over top of the highway.
In Minnesota? Well, yeah, there's skywalks. Sky. I don't know. I'm blank on name.
Bridges?
Sky bridges.
There you go. That's the word.
Around the entire city, because I lived there for a year, and you basically don't have to go outside. You can walk.
You lived in Minnesota for a year? I don't know if I do this.
I lived in Minneapolis for a year.
In Minnesota?
Yes. My wife lived there for...
You betcha.
Almost 3 years? I think 3 years. Almost 3 years.
You ever heard Lewis Black talk about Minnesota?
Yeah.
You want to know who settled Minnesota? It's great if you're a fucking moose.
I mean, when you compare $1.2 billion for the Cowboy Stadium versus the Rangers, football stadiums also the Cowboy Stadium holds like 100,000 people, right?
Yep.
Most baseball parks only hold 25 to 30. I think there's a couple that hold 40. So the footprint of a football stadium is much larger, than a baseball field. So
probably that screen in the middle of the field was like $1 million in itself.
I mean, even if literally a seat is, I don't even know, $10. Well, then take the difference of having 60,000 more football stadium. That's a big cost difference just there.
I think we got some looking up to do for stadiums and cost and
So
sizes.
Arizona is on the list. They changed it to artificial in 2000 for the 2019 season.
Diamondbacks?
Yes.
So there's 4.
And no, that was the Astros.
Is Oakland?
No, because they're the Raiders.
No, I'm talking about baseball.
Right, but they share stadium.
But they've played in the same stadium.
They've got the dirt in the they play on the dirt
I tried to look this up quick, and I opened like the longest article in history.
on Wikipedia because that's what I did.
Not on
I
Wikipedia.
don't see any other stadium.
We'll look that up later. This is boring the viewers.
So then the next topic, which was one that I thought I'd look up more, but it was pretty cut and dry, is Vince Carter called it quits. After
He did.
I say call it quits. He was in the NBA for 22 seasons. Last season was cut short.
Yep.
I'd be really remiss and probably reprimanded by Sean if I did not bring this up. When Sean and I were kids, I played baseball as a kid, but my thing was basketball. I lived on a dirt road. I had a basketball hoop in my dirt driveway. And Sean and I would go out and play basketball. And we were kids. He was always Vince Carter. And I was like, man, I want to be Antoine Jameson because that's who he went to college with at UNC.
Right.
And Jameson was the man at the time. So the whole time I was like, man, I'm Jameson. You're Vince Carter. So we were kids. Like, that's how we grew up. So if I didn't bring that up, I'm sure Sean would text me tomorrow and be like, hey, remember that time I was always Vince Carter and you had to be Jameson because you thought Jameson was way better than Vince Carter? So 22 seasons, he was a 5th overall pick by the Warriors, who then traded to the Raptors.
Yep.
He played in 1,541 games, scored 25,728 points, 6,606 rebounds, 4,714 assists. He averaged 16.7 points a game, 4.3 rebounds a game, and 3 assists a game. Rookie of the Year in 99. His teams included Raptors, Nets, Magic, Mavs, Grizzlies, Kings, and Hawks. And he's also the cousin of Tracy McGrady, which was a great story if you ever have not heard that story. And how he found out he was cousins with Tracy McGrady. Did you hear the story yet?
I have not heard that story.
So he played AAU ball with McGrady because they lived in North Carolina. Carter was in Chapel Hill, staying in college, playing like pickup and stuff. So he just stayed there, just constantly playing basketball. And McGrady was there, like working out with them. And he said nobody wanted to share a locker with McGrady. He's like, I told him like you can use my stuff. So he's like, I shared a locker with him. He's like all week, and then like on Thursday, he's like, hey, I'm not going to be here Friday. I got to go to a family reunion. And Carter's like, all right, I'll see you when you get back on Monday. So apparently he went to this family reunion, and Vince Carter's grandmother was there, and they got talking. And he said, I get a phone call from my grandmother. And I answered the phone. He's like, what's up, cuz? What's up, cuz? He's like, who is this? He's like, it's T-Mac. It's T-Mac, man. We're cousins. So they knew each other for a while before they actually realized they were cousins. There was some weird intertwining like relation there, but yeah. And then when he got drafted, McGrady got actually drafted before him. McGrady went to Toronto, and then he's like, when I got traded to Toronto, I went in the back room of the draft. I got a phone call. It was McGrady. He's like, I told you. He's like, you were going to be teammates. So great career though. I mean,
Yeah. I love Carter, but
greatest Carter memory. What's your favorite Vince Carter memory?
I always go back to the dunk,
it's gonna be
the
obvious.
slam dunk.
Over the 7'2" French guy.
No, elbow.
The elbow dunk.
Dunk contest.
The last time the dunk contest was any good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
My favorite is the dunk in the Olympics over the 7'2" French center, Frédéric Weiss.
It's not a memory when you gotta look up the guy's name.
I knew it was over a 7'2" French center, but I want to make sure you got the name right. But it was that was probably my favorite because he almost knocked out Kevin Garnett after he did it, celebrating.
Yep.
He like fist pumped and almost KG got too amped and almost got in the middle of a right cross to the face. That's probably my favorite Vince Carter memory.
Yeah.
But he played on a stacked team too. I don't think they won a national championship.
No.
And he really wasn't. I mean, I remember as a kid, he wasn't like the go-to guy. It was Jameson and Ed Cota was on that team.
Cota was big at that time.
And he amounted to absolutely nothing in the NBA.
Right.
And Carter was. I mean, Jameson had a good career. I mean, he didn't. I don't know. You think Vince Carter's a Hall of Famer?
I would say yes, but that I don't know if he is.
Really?
I would say yes.
I would say yes as well.
He's like a eight-time All-Star, something like that. I think so.
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's the only guy to ever play 22 seasons as well.
Yeah.
22 seasons, like you said, he was Rookie of the Year, All-Star a number of times, Olympic gold medalist.
I feel like being an all-star in any sport these days is like means it means a lot to those guys, but I feel like as a fan it means less because it's just like popularity vote.
How long has it been voted on by the fans? Do you know?
I thought NBA was like the first one to do it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But
I just don't know how long they've been doing that.
I feel like I know baseball's been doing it probably. Baseball's big. I'd be doing it 15 years almost. So at least obviously starters are the bit, but
yeah, I don't think
that's where a lot of those guys get voted in. But
I don't like the voting of the fans because, like you said,
either.
it's a popularity contest, and that's. I mean, we've seen guys who are not even playing and they're injured get voted into the All-Star game.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. To me, All-Stars should be voted on by managers / coaches and GMs.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that for sure. I mean, that's how. Yeah, that's
Even
not
if
fans.
Even if you had a caveat that you couldn't vote for somebody on your own team.
Right.
That way
I agree with that.
That way you don't stack a card with, mostly your players.
You just run down a list.
Here's my starting lineup.
Yeah, these 5 guys.
The third guy off your bench is on your roster.
Right. Who's this guy? Oh, he's our water boy. I want to do the water boy in the All-Star game. And then the last topic on my agenda is the NHL draft lottery. Do you want to give an update on this fiasco?
Yeah, it has
Probably not.
It has become a fiasco. So the draft lottery drawing to select this year part of the order was held last Friday night. So the only teams that were named in this lottery system drawing this year are the 7 teams that are not in the new startup playoff scenario. So coming up, we've got a qualifying round playoff.
Yep.
A 1-round, 5-game qualifying round.
Do we have a start date yet? We don't have cities yet, do we?
Rumor is they've got that down to Edmonton and Toronto. They actually are not going to Vegas. That's not official.
Wait, all in one?
All in one.
They're all going to go to one city, not split it.
Edmonton and Toronto.
Edmonton and Toronto.
Oh, I thought you said they had the choices. I thought you
no.
said the choices were Edmonton.
They're down to they're
okay.
picking 2 hub cities.
Okay.
They've got the list down to Edmonton and Toronto.
Okay, all right.
That's the rumor. I
That's
don't know.
kind of okay. Go on.
So, there's a lot of logistics we probably don't think about with the hotels, and we can think about, I don't know, L.A. being a huge city, Staples Center, but we don't know how many hotels are within a 3-block radius of the Staples Center.
I thought Vegas would be a no-brainer.
I 100% agree. I thought it would be for hockey and basketball, but now neither of them are going there.
There's 10 3- to 5-star hotels in walking distance of T-Mobile Arena.
Yep.
It's interesting. There's 2 Canadian cities too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it'd be harder to get across the border to Canada than it would be to bring 17%.
They've all got
There's a
passports for both.
Yeah.
So.
There's a big percentage of players that are from Canada, though.
17%.
Oh, okay. So I don't know. They had to have thought these logistics through.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, but I'm glad they at least picked one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast.
Well, it might be easier for
Time-wise.
the guys that were overseas in Europe or wherever
To get
into Canada rather than get to
Possible
the
as
US.
well.
So, again, that's a solid rumor. It's not an official announcement yet, but that sounds like that's what it's going to be. Anyways, so they do this. Once they come back, rumored in those 2 cities, they have a best-of-5 qualifying round to get into the playoffs.
Okay.
top 4 seeds are already in.
Yep.
Teams 5 through 12-ish.
Yeah.
Math guy.
12-ish.
Have to play in the qualifying round. Okay. The losers, and that's both Eastern Conference and Western Conference. The losers of that qualifying round go into the draft lottery.
Okay.
So the way they did it last Friday was they named the 7 teams that are not in that scenario. They were listed in order, reverse order where they finished, like they usually would. And then that was 1 through 7. 8 through 16, because there's 31 teams in the league now, right? So 8 through 16 were noted as a team to be determined, because that's got to be determined by who loses that qualifying round.
Okay.
And in my opinion, the worst outcome of all is what occurred. A team to be determined won the lottery.
Okay, so that's why it's to be determined.
Yes, because it's going to be one of those teams that has to play that qualifying round and then lose.
Now, do they have something that says it's TBA 1, TBA 2? So this team loses. Does it like do they redraft like a lottery just for those teams?
Yep. So once the qualifying round is done, they're going to take all those teams and redo the lottery. Each one of those teams will have a 12.5% chance of winning the lottery. So the first section of the lottery, so Detroit being the worst team in the league, had an 18.5% chance.
Like the NBA.
And then goes down. So I think the team to be determined times however many teams, but each one of those slots was like 1.5% or something.
And they won the.
Yeah.
Where'd your Sabres fall on this list?
So they
They're
were 7th worst overall, and because what team
Mm-hmm.
lower than them won the lottery, everybody else was bumped down. So Buffalo's now picking 8th. The big winner that we already know of, in my opinion, is L.A. So L.A. jumped from 5, I believe, to 2.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And Detroit, by far the biggest loser. They were as much as we bitch about Buffalo, Detroit was by far the worst team in the NHL this year, and they dropped from 1 to 4th overall.
Which there's probably 2 to 3 like top guys in this draft.
Yeah.
So they
3.
so they really got.
I've been focused on 2, but there's a third one at Moritz Seidel or something.
Yeah.
From Czech Republic or something.
Over yonder.
Somewhere over yonder. And then there's a big drop off, which is where Detroit landed. Moral of the story is, I think in my opinion, the nightmare scenario where a team to be determined won the lottery, that's what occurred. And now we've got to have a second lottery after the first round of this playoff scenario.
So think about it. A team, I don't know. Whoever the 5th seed in the East was,
Yep.
they could lose in the first round and
win
take
the
the
lottery.
number 1 spot.
That's crazy.
They could have been essentially they could be the 6th best team in the league.
Yes.
And 5th in the East and win the lottery.
You're gonna get a team probably most likely that had
get
just
a good
as
team.
just as much chance to win the cup as anybody else.
Yes. A good
and
team.
might lose that quick series.
Yep.
So I would say there's probably 5 or 6 teams that probably should lose, and probably fans of those teams are probably hoping they do lose in the first round because they need help.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
So
I don't know. It's a nightmare.
I mean, I haven't gone through the whole list, but 2 teams that jump out at me. You got the Penguins, who still have Crosby and Malkin. Both of those are still 2 of the top 10 players in the NHL. They could lose and end up with
The number 1 pick.
basically, we keep saying number 1 overall pick, but Alexis Lafreniere is another generational player. He's going to go first overall. He's another Crosby, McDavid type player. So it's not just a decent first overall. It's a generational player that could end up.
If Pittsburgh gets that again, people are going to think something's going on.
Because it's similar to when Crosby was picked.
With Crosby, yeah.
And then the one out west, you got the Edmonton Oilers, who McDavid and Draisaitl, you could argue, are 2 of the top 3 players in the world, and they could actually end up with this kid. So
there's no chance I don't think there's any chance they lose in the qualifying round, but you never know.
I mean, everyone's sitting around.
Typically, I would say no, but going into this 3-month layoff, 5-game series,
It's not like anybody's going in with momentum.
Yeah.
Anything could happen. So, in your average year, the teams that don't make the playoffs are in the lottery, order 1 through 16. So at worst, you end up with the 16th worst team that didn't make the playoffs could win the lottery. But at least it's a team that didn't make the playoffs. And like you say, now we end up with a scenario where the 5th or 6th overall team in the standings could actually win the lottery.
And maybe I think it's like the worst team that's won the lottery was like 8th worst team. Like it's nothing like crazy that has come out and won the lottery.
Now there's already rumors.
Well, and they've changed it because I don't know when they changed it, maybe 4 years ago. It used to be if you won the lottery, you could only jump up 4 spots or something like that.
Yes.
I feel like the lottery in every sport changes like every year.
Yeah. Well, it's because the Knicks ruin it for everybody when they put a cold envelope in the bucket so they can pick Patrick Ewing.
Now, the one big rumor, the Ottawa Senators they had 2 of the 3 best chances to win the lottery because they had their own pick and they had the San Jose Sharks pick from the Erik Karlsson trade. So after the lottery was held, the Ottawa Senators ended up with 3rd overall and 5th overall. And there's already rumors that they're going to put together, I think they have 4 second-rounders this year.
Right.
The rumor is they're going to put together a hell of a package to try to entice that 1st overall pick.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it depends on what they offer. Sometimes you can't say no, but I think
Right.
Lafreniere is good enough that I don't know that you'd want to trade that.
Everybody's got a price.
Especially if you're a good team that
lose.
could just use that one good piece and isn't worried about like a full rebuild.
And think about Pittsburgh, for example. I mean, not that Crosby and Malkin are old, but they're not in their prime. They're obviously still top players,
Right.
But they're not 26 years old.
Right. No, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a few years. Each one of them could be a good hit away from not playing.
Yeah. But let's say they've both got 3 to 5 good years left in them.
Right.
And then you add Lafreniere to their team immediately. You bring in another superstar.
Right.
And he gets to play the next 3 years on his entry-level deal, making almost nothing. That's a hell of a compliment for them.
That's true.
We've also seen, I didn't have this written down, but with all the Sabres firings we mentioned a couple weeks ago, 2 things here. One, apparently they fired some IT analyst guy accidentally and then had to hire him back the next day.
Sounds like an IT issue. Do you know anybody?
The nightmare in Buffalo just continues. But Jack Eichel, their superstar, who could get some MVP votes this year. He's arguably a top 5, definitely a top 10 player in the NHL. He's voiced his frustration, and we're already hearing the rumors of could he request a trade in the next year or 2.
Do you guys blame him, though, as Sabres fans?
I mean, no.
If you're not going to...
I bought his jersey last year, so it's like pretty much guaranteed he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, it's one of those, if you're not going to put people around me to help me, let me go.
They need to make some improvements this coming season, and then the year after to me is a critical one. So if they are shitbags in the league for the next 2 years, he will ask for a trade after that year.
Because he just signed a huge.
And at that point,
extension,
he'd be about 25 years old, and he'd still have
8
at least
years. Right, it was 10 years.
He's been in the league longer than you think.
His contract that he just signed was for 10 years, I think, right?
8.
8, okay.
Didn't
8 years, 10 million.
Right, so he still have, I'd say he would still have what?
Didn't the Sabres come out last year like on fire?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, I'm not that much of a casual, but I am a casual.
Well, they were on ice, so.
Oh, boy. There you go. We have a winner.
I'm sorry. Sorry I induced that dag joke.
The rumblings are bad enough that I've already seen proposals from specific teams, probably their fan base, like forum type things, but specific teams offering up what they would offer this offseason if he were to request a trade. Mainly being the Sharks is the one team I've seen. But the other part of this was...
You send them out west.
Well, you definitely do. But the NHL Hall of Fame inducted this year's class last year, or at least selected the players. And in Jerome McGinley's interview with somebody. Jerome McGinley, longtime Calgary Flame, was elected to the Hall of Fame. In somebody's interview with him, they asked him about the Jack Eichel situation. That's how much publicity this is getting at the moment, which is not good.
Well, I mean, I have a friend who's he's a big Leafs fan, and even like when everything started going with the firings, he was like, I feel bad. Like it's starting to get to a point where, like, you start to feel bad. Like
that was a dumpster fire, just complete chaos.
Yeah, Eichel's from Boston, so there've already been proposals on what it would take Boston to get him, and I don't know. If Buffalo trades him, I've got to evaluate my loyalty to them.
Oh, like the Giants.
Yeah.
But this loyalty is a lot better than the Giants.
The Giants was a very casual. The Sabres is like a diehard thing, but they do some shitty things.
You got to stick it out.
Stick it out?
I've been sticking out with the Bills for 20 years.
Dude, I'm a Pirates fan. Don't tell me about sticking it out.
So you're talking about short seasons. Austin Rivers and Giannis today and yesterday kind of came out. They were asked the question, do you think, and we talked about this last week, whoever wins these titles, should there be an asterisk next to their name?
Yeah.
And both of them had the same response. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, they're absolutely right. They said no. No, Austin Rivers said there should be, because this is going to be the hardest title to win.
For the opposite reason.
The opposite reason of
I saw that too. I didn't see Giannis. I didn't see his comment.
He basically said it's going to be the hardest one we're going to have to win.
Yeah, and with the NBA and NHL, they've basically played the full season. So, to me, those two are no different. But
it's just tough with the circumstances. Which
I'm saying there shouldn't be the asterisk, because it's not like baseball is going to play a third of their games.
Right.
You know, if the NBA played 20 games, it'd be a lot different.
I see what you're saying. Like, no, there shouldn't be, because
right.
I mean,
they're probably still going to get the same teams that would have made the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty damn close.
I mean, the hockey playoffs are typically one of the toughest to win because there's so many injury issues, players playing through injuries not at 100%. This year, with 3 months off, 99% of the league is going to be healthy, which I think is why it's going to be tougher.
Right, and there's got to be a fear of, are you too healthy, and then you get back into it, and then you do injure yourself.
Yeah,
especially guys
guys
that have had like nagging injuries.
Yeah, right. To me, those are unpredictable. I think, as we sit here going into this, in theory, in my opinion, it should be the fiercest competition we've seen because everybody's healthy at the moment.
Yeah,
right.
I think I did ask. There's no date yet set, right?
I thought there was. I thought it was the first week of August.
So when's the draft?
They haven't announced that yet.
Okay, because that'd be like there would be a signal when they're going to at least play some of these games, because they'd have to have those games in before the draft.
Yeah, based on historical, the way the bottom end of the order, you would have to have the draft after the Stanley Cup, after the championship's awarded.
Right.
Yeah, because you don't want those teams late, like dealing with playoff stuff and then trying to draft too.
Yeah. Yeah, no dates there. I thought, because they're already back in camp, I thought full blown camp started like next week. They were talking a 2 to 3 week camp and then go into games. So I believe it's the first week of August.
Okay.
I don't think they had set a date. I think the NBA and the MLB were the only ones that have set dates.
Okay. Which the NBA they're talking about doing tape delay games so they can bleep out players swearing. So I feel like the mics.
Yeah, but what do you got to delay it? You could have a guy sitting there and bleep it out and have it delayed 15, 20 seconds.
That's what they're saying they're going to do.
Oh, okay. Well, you said tape delay.
That's what they called it. They said tape delay. But
I thought they were going to play it at like 10 in the morning and then show it to you at like 8 at night.
I think that's pretty...
I mean, if you're offended by a guy playing basketball swearing, change the channel.
Well, they probably have to, so they're not getting fined, right?
Yeah.
The 2019-20 NHL season is set to resume on July 30th.
Okay.
After a 2-week training camp. So
gotcha.
July 30th.
So, yeah, they're probably going to camp next week.
Yeah.
Makes sense. First full week of July would be next week, so
did you see
that makes sense.
Ryan Zimmerman from the Nationals said he's sitting the season out.
So I did not see who. I saw a headline that said a few guys had said. I think a few guys in the NBA said it that they're not going to play.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was Avery Bradley. Somebody in the NBA said they didn't want to go because they had the young kids, and just in case they were exposed to something, didn't want to take it home to the kids.
Yeah, one of them's got is it a Ariza? He's got a kid with a underlying condition.
So Ryan Zimmerman from the Nationals is kind of the same way. He's got like 3 young boys and then a 4th child that was just born or something like that, and so he cited family reasons for that. But
So, do they have underlying issues?
I don't know.
So I will tell you this because we went to the doctor a couple weeks ago and he had this conversation with the doctor about COVID and the baby. He said, unlike the flu, there's actually no signs that when pregnant women and young kids when the flu pandemics kind of broke out, it did go after kids. He said for whatever reason it's not going. It doesn't pregnant people are not more susceptible. Young kids are not more susceptible. There's been one kid under the age of 4 that's died in the United States. And he said that child had many, many, many underlying issues.
But I still don't think you can. I don't think you want to risk it.
No, but I'm saying statistically.
Just because statistics say it's not going to happen, I don't know if you'd want to.
Yeah, but the odds of Ryan Zimmerman catching something going home to his kids, I mean.
You don't know what they're doing in the locker rooms.
Yeah. I don't really want to get into this on this, personally. I'm sick of talking about COVID.
Same.
So I'm just reporting information that Ryan Zimmerman
sources
is sitting out the season.
Yeah.
Whatever his reasoning, that's on him.
Do you going to miss him? Because I'm not.
No.
Okay.
But
he's a Braves killer.
It does instantly make last year's World Series champions worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just lost their starting.
Especially with a DH. He's near the end of his career. He'd be a hell of a DH.
He would have been a perfect DH.
Because they moved him from 3rd to 1st because he was getting older.
Couldn't get it across the diamond.
Right. Well, he couldn't when he was healthy anyways. But
Wade Boggs can throw from 2nd to first base. Or not Wade Boggs, but Chuck Knobloch.
Yeah. So.
All right, are you guys, and maybe we'll get into this later on when it gets closer, but because they announced the first baseball matchup of opening night.
Yankees Nationals, isn't it?
Yeah, but obviously I hate both those teams, but I'm more excited to watch Cole versus Scherzer more than anything.
Good matchup.
And I hope Cole lasts like an inning 2/3. I like good pitching matchups.
I'm a struggling diehard Pirates fan.
Is this like a confessional right now?
Yeah. So Garrett Cole, I've been a huge fan of his. Even when he was in Houston.
I shouldn't have brought Cole up.
With all their bullshit and their cheating, I still was a fan of Cole. To me, he is the best pitcher in baseball right now. And seeing him go to the Yankees makes me want to puke. It's the same with Andrew McCutchen.
He probably already did puke a couple times.
It's the same with Andrew McCutchen, who, former NL MVP with the Pirates, and then he spent that one, didn't he go at the trade deadline? He spent like half a season in the Yankees
he wasn't
uniform.
even there the whole time.
Even now he's on the Phillies. I don't hate the Phillies. Whatever. I can still support him. Do. We're aware. I can still support him. It's that half season he spent in a Yankees uniform that can't get out of my head.
Do you guys want to go to a Yankee game this year?
No, I don't.
Can't. New York says no.
COVID killer over here. What? Put your thumb away.
What if like Cole or McCutchen was like, you know what, I want to play another season or 2 with the Pirates at the end? Would that? Because I felt the same way with McCann. Obviously, he went to the Yankees. Then he came back to the Braves.
I would welcome
and it was
them
like,
back. I'd be fine with that. Yeah. Right. I've been a huge. My point is, I've been a huge Garrett Cole fan.
Yeah.
And this year, I hope he goes, shortened season. So I hope he goes 0-12 this year.
See, he's on opposite side of the table.
Oh, I know. I know.
But in my defense, I'm not a bandwagon Yankee fan. I mean, I have pictures of myself wearing a Yankee hat as a baby, and I had the elastic chin strap to stay on my head.
Yeah, but most people that grew up in this area at some point probably had it. I did not. And I'm pretty sure he did not.
A Yankee
probably had it. I mean,
had a what?
He does have one in his family.
My dad would not have allowed that.
Had a what?
Your sister dug out of the hole.
Yeah.
But Yeah, had like some kind of Yankee attire, especially growing up in this area. I did not.
Yeah.
But neither my parents are not Yankee fans, so that's a big difference. But
your dad's a Vikings fan, so now that makes sense.
well, he's a Cardinals fan too. St. Louis Cardinals, I should say.
Did you live in St. Louis?
No.
Oh.
He's a Bob Gibson fan.
All right. That's interesting.
And the Purple People Eaters, Vikings.
Yeah, I know he's a Vikings fan because he came to our stream during the draft. But, which I'd like to do again for. I don't know what hockey's doing, but if they did one for the NBA, I wouldn't mind doing like a live stream for the NBA draft.
I would do NHL. I wouldn't mind doing it.
It'd be fun
at least first round.
Fun to pronounce names.
I'm good at that.
You could do you could do NHL. Yeah, I like this. We'll figure something out. Speaking of figuring things out, I'm in discussions with Matt Janes for other reasons. So more to come. Anything else, boys?
I
don't think so.
I'm guessing in the next few we'll get some predictions in here for the 3 big sports coming back.
I hope so.
Yeah, why don't we plan on
A little prediction show next
when's
week.
NBA coming back?
Like just after baseball. It's like the 25th, 26th, somewhere
Next
in
week.
there.
Yeah, a week after we're busy for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's do that next week. Let's just do like strictly a prediction show. We can discuss details off air.
All right, cool. All right, gentlemen, until next time. 20 episodes in, 19 of them with no sports, so
Go us.
congrats. Later.